Hi guys, my name's Winter. I've been reading some crazy mother-in-law stories that I could relate to. Like some of these stories, my life was also almost ruined by my husband Cade and mother-in-law Pauline. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, became my friend and confidant. I will tell you how I avoided being stuck paying for my mooching husband and mother-in-law. I married Cade very recently, actually. Sadly for us, the marriage didn't last long. Now that I know his real face, I consider it a blessing in disguise. You see, I'm a girl who's hungry for love. Cade understood that and gave me all his affection. Since we both had stable jobs, we decided to get married around 2 years after dating. Yes, I know we rushed it, but I had no idea how fake Cade's love was for me. When I married him, I thought he had a stable job like me. After our marriage, I was hit with a horrible truth. Cade said, "Winter, since we're now married, I think you should know something. I've been hiding a secret from you." "What are you talking about, Cade? You are scaring me." "I'm sorry, Winter. I had been lying about my job to you for a while. Remember the last job I had? I got laid off just before we got married." "What? Why didn't you tell me anything? I thought you were not contributing to our expenses because you had some debt before our marriage." "No. Winter, it's not that. I should have told you this sooner, but I was ashamed. In my family, men who can't provide are looked down upon, so I didn't want anyone to know. Promise me you won't tell anyone." I was a little miffed by the fact that Cade waited so long to tell me. I should have seen those red flags and saved myself, but I was naive. I decided to support him while he looked for a new job. Well, he didn't start looking even 6 months into our marriage. What was worse was the fact that I was also stuck paying his mother, Pauline, a monthly allowance. Now, let me tell you something. This woman is horrible. She treats other women like shit and always thought that I was a gold digger. She made her thoughts very clear publicly and seized all chances to humiliate me. It didn't help that Cade never stopped her. It was his sister Kylie who stood up for me. One day, she told me in private, "Winter, you are a nice woman, but I don't think my brother deserves you. My family doesn't have the best people." "What do you mean, Kylie? So far I've found everyone to be pretty decent." "They are not good people, Winter. They will never appreciate you since you are a woman. I've gone through this, so I know. Look at me, Winter. I have such an established career, but all my mom does is dote on Cade because he's a man." Kylie's words were very true. Pauline did tend to put down women and praise her son for everything. I had always wondered how she would feel when she knew that I was the one paying for her expenses. I never knew back then that I would get to witness her reaction firsthand, and in the process, I would also see what a vile person Cade is. It all started at a family dinner which I was invited to. There were a lot of people on Cade's side and we were having a lot of fun. But what my husband did at the dinner made me absolutely speechless. He was telling everyone that he was the breadwinner of the family. I would have accepted it if he had stopped at that. But he started to make fun of me and make up lies about me. He detailed how I made very little money and made him pay for my luxuries. Everyone was laughing with him while he portrayed me to be a gold digger. Their conversations both shocked and disgusted me. Pauline said, "See, I was right about her all along. Winter is nothing but a mooch. I would seriously rather be homeless than dependent on her anyway. Thank God my son is such a hard worker. It's too bad he is set on doing charity for his wife." "What can I say, Mom? You know your son is such a generous man. Sometimes I think that's why Winter married me. She can't take care of her expenses to save her life. I wonder what would have become of her if I wasn't here." She would have ended up homeless and on the street anyway. I would say that she would deserve it. Useless people like her absolutely need to get punished for being lazy. I was stunned to hear what Kate and Pauline were saying about me. I knew that Pauline always hated me, but the betrayal coming from Cade was too much for me to handle. I seriously couldn't believe what he had said. Not only had he lied about being the breadwinner, but also he made fun of me. I was almost starting to tear up from the pain. It was Kylie who decided to put a stop to the conversation. She said, "You two are being unnecessarily cruel on Winter. She's a great person and a hard-working woman. She doesn't deserve your horrible words. You should apologize to her, guys." Why the hell will we apologize to her? We're just telling the truth. She should be the one apologizing for being such a parasite. God, I can't believe my son literally has a pet for his wife. Winter can't even support herself. Like I said, she's lucky to have me. Men should take care of their women. Women tend to be very dependent on men. It's only natural that Winter would act this way. She is a woman after all. Kate and Pauline started to laugh at their own jokes. Even Kylie couldn't digest the poison they were spewing. Since she was a hard-working woman herself, these comments also hurt her a lot. It broke her heart to see her mom praise Cade just because he's a man. Meanwhile, I was starting to get over my hurt and instead felt red-hot anger. I literally sacrificed my time and money to look after these two ungrateful idiots. I couldn't recognize Cade anymore. I was furious but refrained from yelling at him then and there. Kate and Pauline continued their jokes until I was sick and tired of it. I had to fake a headache to leave the family dinner sooner. Kate seemed a little disappointed since Pauline and a few other people were encouraging him. When we returned home, I finally screamed at Cade. I said, "What the hell did you want to establish today? Why were you saying those things about me? I am not a parasite who lives off you. It's you who doesn't work anymore." My God, Winter, you need to chill out. It wasn't even that deep. You know the men in my family like to be a little macho. It would not do me good if people knew that I was unemployed. So, you had to go out of your way to paint me as a parasite? You couldn't have just lied about your job? You put me down in front of the whole family to satisfy your ego. How do you justify this, Cade? Answer me. You are being way too dramatic today, Winter. Learn to let things go. You're spoiling all my fun. Now calm down and go back to sleep. It's been a long night. No, absolutely not. I am not going to pretend that I was okay with what you did today. Hell, did you even hear what your mother said? Instead of defending me, you joined Pauline in humiliating me even more? Leave my mother off this, Winter. You are the one who can't take some jokes and harmless teasing. You're simply blaming us for your insecurities. Now, let's go to bed. You have to go to work tomorrow. I have the luxury to stay at home and waste time. You can't do that. Kate said that and casually went to the bedroom to sleep. I was stunned by how nonchalantly he dismissed my feelings. Hell, he couldn't even understand why I was reacting this way. Even after being home alone with me, he wouldn't accept that his words were hurtful, and he was still defending his mother. That night, I stayed on the couch and thought about things through and through. Everything was starting to make sense. I understood that I had been a fool. Cade and his mother used me to fund their lives, but they never held any feelings for me at all. Cade's attitude towards today's events also told me something that I was in denial about. Cade was using me, and he didn't care about me anymore. I was just a money machine to him who gave him what he wanted. At that point, I knew that my marriage was becoming financially abusive for me. I knew that I needed to get out. The next day, Cade acted like nothing happened. It was like he had forgotten how he had insulted me the day before. I tried to talk to him about it again, but he kept shutting me down. I got so fed up that it was easier for me to make a decision. But before I did anything, I needed to call Kylie. I called her from my office and said, "Kylie, I need to talk to you about what happened last night. Thank you for being the only one who stood up for me at least a little." "Oh, don't mention that, Winter. It was a weak attempt to try and stop them. Cade and Mom can get cruel when they want. It was wrong of Cade to insult you like that just because he's the breadwinner." "Yeah, about that, Kylie. Cade has been lying to everyone about that one. He isn't the breadwinner, but I am. He left his job about 6 months ago. He hasn't told anyone." "Oh my God! So he was lying to everyone? Does Mom know about this?" Pauline had no idea that her son wasn't paying her allowance. It was me who was giving her money. Cade would never compromise his manly image even to his mother, so he's been lying to her as well. "I can't believe these people, Winter. It's bad enough that I have to put up with them, but for you, it must be crazy." "Yes, Kylie. I'm done being the ATM for Cade and Pauline. I have realized that Cade just married me for money. He knew I was hungry for love and would do what he wanted. Thank God I saw his true face before wasting many more years on him." "Are you planning to do something, Winter? You can tell me. I'll try to help you as much as I can. I understand your place, Winter. I have been suffering for years as well." I told Kylie what I was planning to do. I wanted to teach Cade and Pauline a nice lesson for their horrible views on women, and I needed them to understand that they can't just use people how they want. So I made a plan with Kylie and set out to execute it. Then I went straight to a lawyer's office with a few things in mind. After I was done with that, I decided to wait for a week before executing the first half of my plan. When the week was up, I was prepared to start with Cade. He was the one going down first. Just 6 months into our marriage, I sat him down and said, "Cade, there's something important I need to talk about. You need to be patient and listen." "This better not be about that stupid family dinner again, Winter. It's starting to piss me off. You need to drop the issue and stop being dramatic. I hate dramatic women." "Well, in that case, I have some good news for you, Cade. You don't have to be with me anymore. I have filed for the annulment of our marriage." "What? No, you're joking with me. Why would you annul our marriage?" "You will want to know why, Cade. It is because of you. First of all, you lied about being employed and tricked me into supporting your mooching lifestyle. When I still try to communicate with you, I discover that you don't even care about my feelings anymore. Might I also add that you did nothing to protect me from your mother?" "Look, Winter, those were some minor inconveniences. We don't need to get an annulment just because of that." "Then what is your plan, Cade? Want to string me along for a few years until you're fit to claim alimony from me? Those plans won't work anymore, Cade. I know exactly what kind of a man you are. You used me to support yours and your mother's life. In return, you gave me nothing but insults and shame." Cade looked at my angry form and immediately started to apologize for his actions. He understood that I was not exactly the doormat he had always imagined me to be. Instead, I was a woman who knew how to stand up for herself. As soon as he heard annulment, he realized that his human ATM was going to escape. So he started to plead with me. He had no idea what more I had in store for him. He said, "Winter, please don't do this to us. We were so happy together. We don't have to destroy everything for a small mishap." "You call this a small mishap? For days, I have tried to talk to you about your actions, Cade. You ignored me every time and got mad at me for bringing this up. Not once did you even apologize for being such a prick. Our relationship was good until you decided to trick me into supporting you and your mother. We can negotiate that, Winter. Look, I messed up and I'm sorry. There, I even apologized to you. Isn't that enough? I don't want your filthy apology, Cade. I'm done with you, and we are getting an annulment. Oh, there is another thing I forgot to mention. I pulled out some documents from my bag and handed them to Cade. He was very confused about what I was showing him. When he read the papers, he was in shock again. He started to shake and said, Is this? Yes, Cade. These documents are about our marriage annulment and your eviction notice. Since I informed you about the annulment, I thought I might as well give you the eviction papers too. No, Winter, you can't kick me out. I'm your husband. You can't just do this to me. Where is your attention, Cade? I already told you that I have filed for annulment. Are you deaf or blind? You won't be my husband for much longer. Please don't kick me out, Winter. I don't have anywhere else to go. You know, I can't tell Mom about me losing my job. That simply cannot happen. You had no problem lying to Pauline about your job. I'm sure you'll find a way. You know, make up a story or something. As for your mom, she will no longer get any money from me, of course. Since I am a generous woman, I'm letting you figure out a plan before the month is up. I said my part and left Cade to fend for himself. I knew he would call Kylie for help, but as we had planned, she will deny him any kind of help. Kylie had suffered enough humiliation at the hands of Cade and Pauline. She was fed up with them and wanted to cut contact anyway, so she was eager to participate in my plan. For the next month, Cade did everything in his power to make me change my mind. He turned very romantic and showered me with affection. He even bought me gifts with the last allowance I gave him. I simply left them in the main bedroom and went off to sleep in the guest room. I gave him the main bedroom as the last gift from my side. In a few days, he would probably have to kiss the cold street anyway. Until the very end, he was convinced that I wouldn't kick him out. Meanwhile, Pauline had no idea about what was going on. When the month was up and she didn't receive her allowance, she stormed into my house and said, "Why the hell didn't I get my allowance, Winter? I know it was you. It has to be you. You never liked the fact that Cade sent me money. You must have intentionally misplaced the money or stolen it." Believe me, Pauline, I don't freaking care if your dear son wants to send you money. He can do so as he pleases. I don't need his money to feed or clothe myself. You are lying, Winter. Cade has told everyone that you are dependent on him. You have already drained his account and have set your eyes on my money. First of all, Pauline, it was never your money to begin with. Now that I say it, the money wasn't Cade's either. You need to stop saying that. Why will I stop saying that? My poor son works very hard to look after me. I will scream it to the world to tell everyone what a successful man he is. Is that right, Pauline? Then what will you scream and tell the world when I tell you that Cade is unemployed and that I was the one sending you money? That is nonsense. I will never believe it, and neither will others. Cade has told me that he is the breadwinner of this house. Right, Cade? Cade remained quiet and looked down to the floor. Pauline was staring at him, expecting him to crack a joke about me or tell her how he is the breadwinner of this house. But this time, Cade remained silent. He knew that he could not keep lying for any longer. When Cade didn't speak for a while, Pauline said, "Cade, why are you not saying anything? Tell your wife I'm right." How will he say that, Pauline? Your useless son doesn't even have the guts to accept that he lives off his wife's income. Yes, I am the breadwinner and sole provider of this household. I was the one giving you money because Cade wanted to take care of his mom. No, that can't be possible. My son is a man and won't depend on a woman. You are lying to me. You will find out soon enough, Pauline. Since I am now seeking annulment of my marriage, you can enjoy being homeless with your son. I guess he didn't tell you this as well. It's been a month since I have given him an eviction notice. He will need to move out by next week. Hearing this, Pauline starts to interrogate Cade about what I said. Since Cade realized that he couldn't hide the truth anymore, he told her the truth. After some back and forth, Pauline realized that she had been dependent on me all along. Suddenly, she was begging me not to leave Cade and stop paying for their expenses. I laughed in their faces and reminded Pauline what she had thought of me last month. Pauline and Cade both started to apologize to me and begged me to change my mind. I simply turned and left. Till the next week, Cade and Pauline continued to pester me with their begging. When the week was up, I told Cade to leave my property or else I would call the police. He left with his things and moved in with Pauline. From what Kylie told me, they had been pestering her for money. After she firmly said no, they turned their attention back to me. I blocked their numbers and told Cade only to contact me through a lawyer. Cade and I got separated very easily. He didn't have the money to fight me in court, so he had to give in to the annulment. Last I heard, he and Pauline were being kicked out of her apartment after not paying rent for months. Since Kylie has cut contact with them and refused to send them money, they had to take turns crashing couches on other relatives' places. Even they were tired of hosting them for free, and their future was unsure. As for me, I'm slowly rebuilding my life and learning to be content on my own. I have promised myself never to fall into anyone's trap again, and I hope I will find my true soulmate soon. Hello, my name's Macy and I'm 30 years old. I'm here to talk about how I let go of my leeching in-laws and husband. Before I start talking about my crappy experience, let me introduce myself some more. I grew up in a low-income family. Most months we barely made it to the end. Sometimes we even had to starve. I had seen what poverty was like firsthand. It's not something I take very lightly. I know what real hunger pains feel like. I know what it's like to survive winters without heating. I didn't want to perpetuate the cycle of poverty that my family seemed to be going through, so I studied really hard. I was fortunate enough for my parents to be able to afford my education. There was not a single day that went by when I wasn't buried in my books. All of my days studying, I got a full ride at my dream college. While at college, I picked up various odd jobs to keep myself afloat. If I had any extra money, I would send it back home to my parents. It was in my junior year of college that I met my husband, Sam. At the time, I was working as a barista at a cafe that was pretty popular among the students of my college. One of my coworkers at the time was Sam. We were somehow always stuck with opening and closing duties together, so as we worked, we began making small talk with each other. Soon, it got to a point where I eagerly waited for my opening and closing shifts because I loved working with Sam. Sam felt that way too because he asked me out. I said yes, and we ended up going on our very first date to the amusement park. We started seeing each other seriously. We were pursuing different fields, but both graduated at the top of our classes. We got placements with these amazing firms. They were a great starting point for us. We moved in together 5 months after graduating. We worked at our first jobs for about another year. We didn't make amazing money, but we made enough to get us by. Now, here's where Sam and I did things differently. While Sam chose to continue working with his firm and wait for promotions, I quit mine and started working at a different place. I was immediately given a small pay raise with my new job, and I kept doing that for a couple of years before I was easily making twice Sam's salary. Sam had gotten a couple of raises, but that was about it. I had told him on multiple occasions to follow what I had done, but he said that it was too much work for him. Obviously, with this large gap in our incomes, Sam wanted to make some changes to how we manage household expenses. We had been splitting everything 50-50, but then Sam didn't want to do that anymore. I've been needing to talk to you about something. What is it, darling? I know we've been splitting all our bills and expenses 50-50, but you're making double what I'm making. I don't think that's fair to me. What do you mean it's not fair? I mean, I'm practically struggling by the end of the month while you have more than enough to get by. Okay, but I'm not spending it on me. I'm sending my parents money too. Yeah, but you still have a lot left, you know? Okay, and? That's hardly unfair. I worked hard to get where I'm at right now. I've asked you to do the same thing that I did. You know that it won't be easy for me to do what you did. Plus, it's so time-consuming. Obviously, you don't have to do the same exact things I did, but you've had so much experience at your company that you'll definitely find a better job with better pay. Hell, I'll even help you. That's not what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to ask you if we could split the expenses more fairly. What ratio do you want to split it in? 70-30. That's too much for me and barely anything for you. I'll go till 60-40. All right, I can work with that. I was really upset with the way Sam was seeing things. I mean, I know we worked in different fields, but his field worked similarly to mine. I hated how Sam didn't want to make an effort. But I let it go because I didn't think it was a hill worth dying on. Our relationship didn't have many issues after that. We worked with our new arrangement, and I did notice that Sam seemed a lot less stressed and a lot more happier. Even though I wasn't initially happy with the arrangement, seeing Sam look happier made me feel better. If there was one thing that I did a lot back then, it was bending over backward to make the people I loved happy, which, to be fair, bit me back in the worst way possible. About 2.5 years into dating, Sam proposed to me. I was overjoyed and excitedly said yes. Our wedding was a small and private event. Only our immediate family and our closest friends were present. It was the first time I met Sam's family. They lived in the state over. I never really got to meet them because I was too busy working and I never really had any real time off. My only time off was weekends. Holidays were the best time to make the most amount of money I could. Even after graduating, the new jobs kept me really busy. Sam would make frequent trips to visit home, and whenever they would ask for me, he would tell them I was busy. So the wedding was a great bonding moment for us. Since we cut down big time on the wedding costs, Sam decided that we should move into a different flat. I was skeptical about it. Sure, we had more than enough saved to make a down payment for a bigger and better place, but most of that saved money was mine. I told him so. Baby, I don't think splurging on an expensive apartment is a smart decision. But we have more than enough money for a down payment. Yes, but most of it's mine. Baby, we're getting married. There'll be no such thing as mine or yours. Oh, there definitely will be. We're signing a prenup. But that's only for people who are going to get a divorce. Do you think we won't last? No, it's nothing like that. It's just a smart and safe thing to do. So is not buying a huge apartment right now. Fine, I'll agree to the prenup, but I won't agree with not buying a new place. I mean, look at our place. It's tiny. What's the issue with that? Babe, sometimes my family would want to come over and spend time with us. I don't want them to spend time at a hotel. I still don't think that's a smart decision. You never listen to me. All you want is your way. Why are you even marrying me at this point? There's no need to get rude. I'm marrying you because I love you. Just because I don't agree with everything you say doesn't mean I love you less. Please, you'll appreciate it a lot in the future. Let's just get a new place. Fine, but the apartment will be in my name. I will not debate that. Fine. Our new place was a penthouse. It had 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and 1 office. Thankfully, it was not in a very happening area, so it was very affordable. I had also gotten a huge promotion at work that month. I was promoted to head of my division. Sam and I celebrated big the night after I learned of my promotion, and it was the best night of my life. But then tragedy struck. First, Sam lost his job because he wasn't doing his job properly. I was upset, but I couldn't show it because I had to be supportive of Sam. He wallowed in his depression for a while. I mean, there was no need for him to work because I made more than enough for both of us, but still, I wanted Sam to contribute in some way, especially because we were planning on starting a family. If we were going to have kids, we were going to need a lot of money, but Sam never seemed to listen. I decided to just let him be for a while and try and push him to work in a couple of months. Then tragedy struck again. Sam's family, about 2 months after Sam lost his job, due to some faulty wiring, there was a fire at Sam's home. Thankfully, aside from some very small injuries, everyone was safe and fine. The house wasn't completely burnt down, but it would take another 8 to 9 months to get repaired fully. The news of the fire distressed Sam a lot. He didn't sleep the entire night and kept checking up with his parents and his younger siblings. They were staying in a motel for some time, but they obviously couldn't stay there until their house got renovated. So Sam approached me the next day. "Babe, I have something kind of big to ask of you." "Yes?" "I was wondering, do you think we could invite my parents to stay here with us until their house is renovated? They have no other place to go to, and they can't keep living in a motel. It's expensive and impractical, you know." "Oh, of course. They're my family, too. There's more than enough space here for them." "Are you sure?" "Yeah. I could convert my office to a bedroom for your siblings, and your parents could take the guest bedroom." "No, darling. I meant, are you sure you're okay with my parents staying here?" "Why would I not be okay with it?" "Because you know that they'll be staying here for the rest of the year, right?" "Yeah, and there's no problem with that." "Thank you so much, darling." "Shh, there's no need to thank me." A couple of days later, Sam's family moved in with us. I would love to say that it was easy living with them, but it wasn't. The first night they moved in, we had dinner together. After dinner, we sat together, drank a little wine, talked about ourselves for a while. I learned a lot more about Sam and his childhood at that point. Sam's mother, Sally, had managed to save some of her childhood albums of Sam's, and she showed them to me. We gushed over how cute Sam looked as a child. I got to learn about Sam's siblings a lot more too. His youngest brother was currently in his sophomore year of high school, while his youngest sister was a senior in high school. Sally told me that they had Sam when they were really young. After a while of talking about themselves, the topic shifted to me. "So, Macy, tell us more about yourself." "Oh, I don't know what to say." "Tell us about your childhood." "Oh, there's not much to say. I didn't grow up with a lot of disposable income. I struggled really hard, but it was worth it because I'm living pretty comfortable today." "Oh, is that why you're always working?" "Yeah." "I'm glad you married our son then. I'm sure he'll provide everything you need." "Oh, but I'm the one." "Mom, did you show her that picture of me sitting in the driver's seat in Dad's old car?" "Oh, yeah. Look at how silly he looks here." I looked back at Sally and her album, but the back of my mind was reeling with confusion. What did she mean by Sam providing for me? Did she not know that I'm the one providing for both of us? Why had Sam just interrupted me when I was trying to tell Sally just that? I knew that I had to talk to him. I waited patiently until Sam's parents decided that it was time to head to bed. When we finally parted ways to go to our respective rooms, I kept trying to get Sam's attention so I could ask him about what had happened earlier. But he kept making excuses and avoiding me. Finally, when we settled into bed to fall asleep, I asked him about it. "What was that about earlier?" "What do you mean?" "Babe, don't play dumb. Your mom said that you were the one providing for me. What was that all about?" "About that? I kind of didn't tell my parents I lost my job." "Why?" "It's embarrassing. I didn't want them to know that their child was unemployed." Okay, but why do they think that you're the one providing for me? Why, is that a bad thing? No, I didn't mean it in a bad way. It's just that you've already lied about something, and I just want to know what else you've lied about so we can keep up with it. Oh, sorry. Well, I also told them that I'm working from home and that I'm the one earning more. Let me guess. Because it would be embarrassing if I made more than you. Yeah, I don't like this. But I love you, so I'll let it go. Thanks, babe. You're the best. If I'm being completely honest, I hated what Sam had done. I worked hard to get to where I was. He knew that. In fact, he was there for a good portion of it, and still he took it all away. But at the same time, I understood the importance of wanting your parents to think that you're doing well. Basically, I hated it, but I understood it. The first week his family stayed with us, everything was pretty good. But then their true colors came out. They left messes everywhere, and neither of them ever volunteered to clean up, even after I had expressed how I wanted them to clean up after themselves. After a while of this, I gave up on asking them. I either took care of the messes myself, or I just let it be. Then it got worse. In the first month they were there, Sam's parents contributed to the utilities. The second month they stopped. Honestly, I was fine with it, even though I was a little upset. What I was not okay with was Sally accompanying me or Sam on our grocery trips and picking out the most expensive things and expecting us to buy them. On top of all that, they ran up our electricity and water bills like crazy. I sat down one night and just reviewed how much we had spent that month, and to my horror, I realized we had spent 5 times what we usually spend. So the next day, while we were all eating lunch together, I brought it up with Sam's parents. I don't know how to bring this up without making things awkward, but respectfully, in the nicest way possible, I need to ask you guys to cut down on the spending. What do you mean? I mean, you guys buy a lot of expensive stuff at our expense, and you guys have run up our water and electricity bills by a lot too. You don't get to tell us what to do. Oh, no? I don't mean it in any rude way. It's just our expenses this month have been 5 times what we usually spend. If you could contribute a little, I wouldn't mind continuing to live this way. Contribute? This is my son's money we're spending. If he doesn't have an issue with it, you have nothing to say. Babe, that's enough. I was furious. I knew she was my mother-in-law, but she was staying in my house. She did not get to speak to me that way. I politely asked her to curb her spending, and she was so rude. And to make matters worse, Sam hadn't even backed me up. Hell, I wouldn't have minded if he kept his mouth shut. But he took his mother's side, and I did not like that one bit. I went to bed furious. I didn't speak to Sam or his family. The next morning, I got up and went to work. I came back, and Sam was waiting for me in the room. He began yelling at me for confronting his parents like that. I told him to keep his mouth shut because he was the worst of them all. He had no say in anything, and I was going to make sure it stayed that way. Sam tried to tell me that his parents had gone through so much and asked me to just humor them for a little while, and I told him that if he wanted to humor them, he could do it at his own expense. I reminded him whose house they were living in. I told him that if they kept this behavior up, I would throw all of them out, including him, without an ounce of remorse. Sam didn't talk much to me after that for a week. Sam's family's behavior only got worse. They got increasingly invasive. They rarely allowed my privacy. If I was reading a book in my room, one of Sam's siblings would come in and sit next to me. If I was cooking food, Sally would walk in and tamper with my food so it would fit the family's tastes. If I was working out at the complex's gym, Sam's father would be there. I had no space for myself. Initially, all of this was okay, but when you start to feel like your space is no longer yours, it's painful. I found myself spiraling into depression, and Sam just never seemed to care. He was just happy to keep the pretense going at my expense. Literally. The final nail in the coffin was when I returned home from work really late. I was exhausted and all I wanted to do was take a long, warm bath, eat my dinner, and go to sleep. I didn't want to talk to or interact with anyone, so imagine my irritation when I walked into my house and heard loud laughs from a lot of women coming from my dining room. I walked over to the dining room to see what was going on and saw Sally surrounded by a bunch of women. I coughed to draw attention to me and politely asked Sally what this was all about. Sally perked up when she saw me and walked around the table to stand next to me. She then introduced me to her friends. Everyone, this is my lovely daughter-in-law. Hi, everyone. Oh, wow, she's really pretty. Yeah, thank God she has her looks. My son did her a favor by marrying her. Excuse me? She used to be so poor. If it wasn't for my amazing son, she'd probably be on the streets. No, I wouldn't. You know what? I'm sick and tired of all of you. Macy, calm down. What are you talking about? I'm not the poor one. Your stupid son is. I'm the breadwinner of this family, and every single one of you are a bunch of freeloaders. Macy! I've had enough of your family's rude and disrespectful behavior. Not once have you expressed any gratitude that I've shown. Not once have you lent me a helping hand around the house. Not once have you paid for anything. All you did was spend a fortune that was mine. Oh, please, even if you are the breadwinner right now, this house is in my son's name. So how we live here isn't a problem. We'll stop the overspending, but we'll live here on our own terms. My God, what has your son not lied to you about? This house is in my name. I'm the one that paid the most of it. I'm the one still paying it off because your no-good son is unemployed. Oh my God. You know what? I'm done. I want you guys out, and I mean all of you, including Sam, by the end of this month. I'll send you an official notice by the day after. I don't care if you guys are left on the streets, but I deserve better than this. I left my place and went to stay with one of my friends. I was so drained from my emotional outburst, I didn't realize how much anger I had in me until that moment. It felt good to get it all out. An hour later, my phone was blowing up with calls and messages from Sam and his parents. Sam was angry with me for revealing everything to his parents, while Sally was mad at me for humiliating her in front of her friends. Sam's dad was the only one actually begging me to let them stay there. I felt so many emotions that I decided to just not dwell on them. There was only one thing I wanted, and that was freedom. Freedom from my in-laws and my lying husband. I had the notice written up the next day. I had also filed for divorce and got the papers ready. The day after that, I went over to deliver the papers to Sam's family. Initially, Sally and Sam started yelling at me. Sam then changed his tune and asked me not to leave him, but I was so numb from the past few months of torture, disrespect, and lies that I didn't bat an eye at his tears. I felt a little bad when Sam's dad and siblings asked me to let them stay, so I told them they either had to pay rent at the market price or get out. The rent for such a large apartment was obviously a lot and out of their budget. They ended up moving out. Sam knew better than to contest the divorce because if he did, I would have found a way for him to pay me back everything he owed me. I was sad that my wonderful relationship had come to this, but at the same time, I'm finally independent and able to take pride in my accomplishments. I realized that I'm never going to bend over backwards for anyone, no matter how much I love them. I'm never going to let anyone use me ever again, and I think that's something everyone can take away from this. Remember to always live your best life and always be true to yourself. That's the one thing that makes life worth living. Thank you for listening. Hello, my name's Serena and I'm 30 years old. I made the mistake of marrying a man with more issues than you could ever imagine. You see, I had this notion that love could conquer all, that I could fix him and make him see his worth. Oh, how wrong I was. Love may be powerful, but it can't teach someone how to love themselves. My ex, let's call him Rob, had an unhealthy obsession with pleasing his parents. And I'm not talking about your typical desire for parental approval. No, it was an all-consuming obsession that dictated his every move. It was as if he believed that his worth as a person was entirely dependent on his parents' validation. Now, let's talk about his lovely parents, shall we? We'll call them Mr. and Mrs. Smith for the sake of anonymity. They were the epitome of neglectful parenting. They rarely showed any genuine interest in their son's well-being, leaving him constantly starved for their attention and approval. It was a heartbreaking sight to witness, but I soon realized that I couldn't fill the void that his parents had left behind. To make matters worse, Rob had a nasty habit of squandering our hard-earned savings at his parents' whims. Can you believe it? I'm talking about extravagant gifts, lavish vacations, and all sorts of unnecessary expenses. It was like money was pouring through our fingers straight into the pockets of Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Naturally, this financial irresponsibility became a major point of contention between us. We would argue endlessly about his reckless spending and his inability to prioritize our future. It felt as though I was constantly battling against his parents' influence, and it took a toll on our marriage. But here's the thing, despite the chaos and the endless arguments, I never stopped caring for Rob. I wanted him to break free from the shackles of his parents' expectations and find happiness within himself. However, it became clear that my love alone couldn't save him from the clutches of their toxic influence. Oh, hold tight, folks, because things are about to get even more intense in this roller coaster of a tale. So, one day, Rob approaches me with an air of seriousness, claiming that he has something important to tell me. Now, I'm no stranger to his antics, but little did I know that this conversation would lead to our worst fight yet. Serena, I need to talk to you about something important. All right, what is it? You know my parents are retiring, right? Well, I want to surprise them with a luxury trip. It's going to be quite expensive. That's fine as long as you're using your own money. I can't bear another argument about our savings. I can't afford it on my own. I need to use our savings for this trip. Rob, if you can't afford it, then maybe it's not a good idea to spend so much. Then he snapped at me. You don't understand, Serena. I love my parents and I do anything for them, even go above and beyond. Love shouldn't be measured by lavish expenditures. It's about being there for each other, supporting one another. But this trip is important to them. I want to make them happy. And I want us to be financially stable. Using all our savings for a trip is not responsible. You don't get it. This is something I feel compelled to do. I want to give my parents the world. Rob, we can show love and support without sacrificing our financial security. We need to find a reasonable solution. But I thought you'd understand. They mean the world to me. And you mean the world to me too, but we can't ignore practicality. We need to find a balance. You're just being selfish. I can't believe you won't support me in this. It's not about being selfish, Rob. It's about being responsible and planning for our future. How much will this cost anyways? I need all of it. My jaw dropped. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This man had the audacity to ask me if I was willing to use all of our savings? He must have lost it. All of our life savings, Rob? Are you sick? Wow, Serena, I didn't think you'd be this heartless. You think money grows on trees? What makes you think that you can say crap like that and be so nonchalant about it? Well, I was planning on getting the money back. Oh, you were going to get $70,000 back. Okay, then that works then, no problem. Really? No, Rob, not really. I was being sarcastic. It's too much, and I won't allow it. Stop treating me like I'm a child. Then stop acting like one. I thought you were the person who would understand and stand by me. I do stand by you, but not at the expense of our financial stability. We need to think this through. The argument had escalated to a point where not only our voices were raised, but also a few things decided to go airborne and smash into a million pieces. Good times, right? And then, out of the blue, Rob drops the bomb. If you can't support me on this, then I want a divorce. Oh boy, he thought I'd start begging him to stay, fighting tooth and nail for our crumbling marriage. But guess what? I didn't take the bait. Nope, not this time. Instead, I summoned all the calm and poise I could muster and shot back. Okay, Rob, if that's what you really want. The shock on his face was priceless. He expected tears and desperate pleas, but instead, he got me standing my ground. I was done coddling and enabling this man. If he wanted to squander his resources, then he was more than welcome to. I didn't hold back. Oh no. I laid it all out on the table. I told him it was time for him to realize that his attempts to win his parents' approval were about as effective as using an umbrella in a hurricane. Pointless, my friend. He tried to argue, but I shut him down with a simple gesture, raising my hand as if to say, "Hold up, buddy." I told him I was tired. Tired of fighting for a love that was based on unrealistic expectations and the constant need for validation. It was time for me to take a stand. You want to spend your money impressing people who couldn't care less. Knock yourself out, buddy. But as for me, I'm done living in this cycle of disappointment and broken promises. Boom. The truth hit him like a ton of bricks. The reality of our situation sunk in, and it wasn't pretty. Our marriage had become a battleground, and it was time to wave the white flag and find our own separate paths. It had been a month since the papers were signed, sealed, and delivered, marking the official end of my turbulent marriage to Rob. And let me tell you, the sense of freedom and relief is absolutely intoxicating. No more sniveling, no more constant battles over money and his parents' approval. I can finally breathe without the weight of his insecurities dragging me down. Life was looking brighter by the day, my friends. Now, I won't lie, Rob did try to worm his way back into my life. He reached out, acting all concerned, asking how I was doing. But I saw right through his little charade. I wasn't about to fall for his tricks again. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, well, you know how the saying goes. I ignored his attempts at rekindling any kind of connection. I had learned my lesson. I had spent far too long trying to fix someone who didn't want to be fixed. It was time to focus on myself, my growth, and my happiness. Getting back on my feet wasn't easy. I won't sugarcoat it. Dividing our assets and adjusting to a new financial situation took some time and effort. I had grown accustomed to a certain lifestyle, but hey, I'm no stranger to hard work. I rolled up my sleeves and embraced the challenge of rebuilding my life as a single woman. I discovered newfound strength and independence within myself. I started reconnecting with old friends, pursuing hobbies that had long been neglected, and exploring new passions. The world was my oyster, and I was determined to savor every moment of this newfound freedom. Sure, there were moments of doubt and loneliness, and still adjusting to this new financial situation was certainly challenging. The scars of a failed marriage don't vanish overnight. But with each passing day, I found solace in knowing that I was no longer compromising my own happiness for the sake of someone else's insecurities. My ability to move on so quickly was probably an indication that I'd been beating a dead horse for a while now. I was so surprised at how much I could accomplish without that dead weight on my shoulders. So there I was, another month later, still adjusting but thriving nonetheless. And Rob was still bombarding me with messages. Except this time it was a bit different. He'd gone the full-blown Crimea River route, claiming he was in danger and desperately needed to meet with me. I was getting tired of him contacting me, and I wanted to put this issue to rest once and for all. So I called in the middle of one of his text rants and said, "Rob, I told you, I don't want to hear it. We're divorced, remember? It's time for us, you, to move on." "Serena, please, just give me a chance to explain. I'm in serious trouble and I didn't know who else to call. I need your help." Maybe it was the fact that I hadn't heard his voice in so long, or perhaps he genuinely sounded terrified, but I relented. "Fine, but I'm not inviting you into my home. Let's meet at the cafe we used to go to. I don't want any funny business." "Thank you, Serena. I promise. I just need a listening ear. I'm desperate, and you're the only one who truly knows me." I know, my friends. You're probably thinking, "Serena, what on earth possessed you to meet up with Rob after all you've been through?" Believe me, I ask myself the same question, but sometimes even the strongest of us have moments of weakness, and I let curiosity and the lingering flicker of care get the best of me. Who was I kidding? I couldn't resist his desperate plea for help. Just because we were divorced didn't mean that I didn't care about him. So there we were, sitting across from each other in that cozy little cafe. The air was filled with intoxicating scent of freshly brewed coffee, but even that couldn't mask the palpable tension in the room. It was like stepping into a war zone of emotions. I couldn't help but observe Rob's face as he sat there, anxiety riddling with his features. It was almost comical how he tried to convey his distress through those puppy dog eyes, but I wasn't falling for it. Not this time. I leaned back in my chair, trying to exude a sense of control. I was determined to keep this conversation on my terms. "All right, Rob, you've got my attention. What's this danger you've managed to stumble into? And let me be clear, I'm not interested in being your savior anymore. I've had my fair share of cleaning up your messes." Rob let out a heavy sigh, his face a blend of regret and desperation. It was almost pitiful to witness, but I reminded myself not to be swayed by his theatrics. "I know I've messed up in the past, Serena, but this time it's different. I've gotten myself tangled up with some really dangerous people. I owe them a substantial amount of money, and they're not exactly the forgiving type." I raised an eyebrow, not fully buying into his tale of woe. "Dangerous people? Really, Rob? Are we talking about those imaginary friends of yours again? You always had a knack for attracting trouble, didn't you?" Rob's eyes widened. A mixture of hurt and frustration flashed across his face. It was clear that he expected a different response from me, but after everything we had been through, I had grown tired of being the one who constantly tried to fix him. "No, Serena, I'm not making this up. You think I wanted this? Me coming to you with my tail between my legs asking for help? Okay, let me guess. You took the divorce hard and you needed money." "Not necessarily. Remember the trip I told you about?" "Oh God, don't tell me you borrowed money to fund a trip." People around the cafe looked at me as I raised my voice. I sent over an apologetic stare, trying to compose myself. "Look, Serena, I got involved in something I shouldn't have. I know that now, and now I'm paying the price. I need your help to figure a way out of this mess." My frustration started to bubble up, ready to boil over. How could he come back into my life with yet another disaster of his own making? But beneath my anger, a sliver of compassion lingered, reminding me that he was still human, even if he was deeply flawed. "How much do you owe?" "50." $50,000? Rob, are you crazy?" The cafe threw daggers at me, but this time I didn't bother apologizing. If they heard what I was hearing, they'd shout too. "Serena, please, I'm desperate and I've nowhere else to turn. I know I messed up, but I still care about you. You were the one who truly believed in me." I could see the sincerity in his eyes, a glimmer of the man I once fell in love with, but it was too little, too late. I had to protect myself, even if it meant turning my back on him. Oh, don't do that, Rob. Don't try and reel me in. It's too late for that now. I thought you were going to say something like $5,000. Hell, I might have even been gracious and allowed 10 grand. But 50? $50,000? You must have lost your mind. Rob began to sob, crying loudly and not caring about the other patrons. He was making a fool of himself. Rob, this is not the time or the place. Logistically, what's going to happen if you don't pay them back? They'll break my legs, Serena. Jesus, that sounds serious. This isn't funny, Serena. I'm in serious trouble. I know, Rob, I know. Why don't you explain everything from the beginning this time? Rob poured out his tale of woe, confessing how he had obtained the money to fund his parents' extravagant trip. He explained that a friend had promised to lend him the funds, but that friend had let him down, leaving him trapped in this huge-ass debt. As he revealed the details, a mix of frustration and amusement filled me. I couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh, recognizing the twisted web Rob had woven for himself. So, let me get this straight. You took money from these dangerous people to please your parents, who haven't even bothered to thank you or show any appreciation for the lavish trip you funded? Is that what you're telling me? Rob's expression grew sullen, tears streaming down his face, the weight of his actions finally sinking in. He shook his head, his voice laden with regret. It's true, Serena. My parents haven't even reached out to me since they embarked on their grand adventure. It's like I'm invisible to them. I couldn't help but feel bad for the guy. What a predicament, am I right? It was almost poetic justice witnessing Rob come face to face with the reality of his choices. But I couldn't gloat, not with this man silently sobbing in front of me. I know you don't want to hear this right now, but you did this to yourself, Rob. I told you that it wasn't wise. And what's worse, you divorced me over it. And now here you are, not knowing what to do. You chased their approval, poured your life savings into fulfilling their desires, and they haven't even bothered to acknowledge your sacrifice. As much as it hurts, this is a hard lesson you needed to learn. It was a bitter pill for both of us to swallow. Rob had placed his self-worth in the hands of those who were incapable of appreciating his efforts. And I had to come to terms with the fact that I couldn't save him from his missteps any longer. I was hoping that now, with his legs in danger, he would understand that I was always on his side, and that his reducing himself to just a puppet that pleased his parents led to his downfall in the end. As the reality of the situation settled upon us, silence enveloped the cafe. The weight of our shared history, of all the broken promises and shattered dreams, hung heavy in the air. At that moment, I knew it was time to walk away for good. No more second chances, no more futile attempts to mend what was irreparably broken. Rob had to face the consequences of his actions, and I had to find my own path towards happiness. I hope you find a way out of this mess, Rob. What? You're not going to help me? What the heck? No, Rob, I'm not going to help you. Why not? I don't have the funds for it. Can't you get a loan? A loan that I'd have to spend the rest of my life paying back? No, thanks. I'm not as reckless as you are. Come on, Serena, please, I'm begging you. Huh? With the way that you're acting, it's almost as if you expected me to help you. Yeah, I did. You're my ex-wife, not my mortal enemy. And you see, that's the problem right there. You think that I'm always going to be here. And that's because I always was. I was your wife. Rob, of course I was going to dig you out of your messes. But I can't keep doing that. It's not my job or responsibility. I don't owe you anything. And honestly, after all the crap you put me through, squandering our expenses for your ungrateful and toxic parents, it's because I love them, Serena, you know that. And I love myself. And so I have to do what's best for myself, and that includes protecting myself, Rob. He hung his head, finally admitting defeat and realizing that if he was going to get help, it wasn't going to come from me. Because it's free, I'm going to give you some advice. Leave the country. Pack up your life and move somewhere where they can't find you. And if you can't do that, then I don't know how else to help you. Rob just sat in silence, almost pouting like he was irritated at my refusal to help him. It's time for us to part ways. I can't keep getting caught in the storm of your life. We both deserve a chance at finding our peace. I wish you well, Rob. I mean it. If you wished me well, you'd help me out. Goodbye, Rob. I'm getting a new number. With those words, I rose from my seat, leaving Rob sitting there, his face a mosaic of emotions. It was a painful yet necessary step towards reclaiming my happiness, my sense of self. Hello, I'm Denise, a 31-year-old woman who just got divorced. I never thought that I'd ever be divorced because I thought I was in the happiest relationship of my life. But when I looked closer into it, I realized that my marriage was very far from perfect. A lot of things contributed to it, so let me start from the beginning. I met Peter through a mutual friend. We hit it off pretty well from the start. Peter was a very attractive man with a very attractive personality. We began seeing each other and then dated for a good 4 years before deciding to get married. Everything in our relationship was pretty smooth sailing. Peter and I shared a lot of the same values, and in general, both of us were very accommodating of each other. The only issue we had was Peter's parents, Orla and Dave. They were nothing short of evil. The first time I met Orla and Dave, neither of them even glanced my way. When I got to the dining table, there were only 3 plates set out for the 3 of them. I was confused and very humiliated. Peter didn't speak up for me. He just kept his head down and looked away. I had to bring up the fact that I didn't have my own plate, and Orla acted dumb before saying that she had forgotten that I was there. Dinner after that wasn't any easier either. Orla and Dave pretty much ganged up on me and humiliated me. Peter was silent the entire time. Looking back, I guess that should have been an indicator of what my marriage to him would have looked like. I sat through every comment, and I was more than ready to go back home. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to yell at Peter for not even having my back and warning me about his parents, or at least speaking up for me, or if I just wanted to curl up in bed and cry. The drive back home had been silent. When we got back home, I gave Peter time to apologize, but he never really approached me about it. He continued about his night as if his parents hadn't just spent the night humiliating me. So I decided to talk to him about it. We need to talk. I was actually just going to sleep. Stop running away from things like a coward, Pete. Who are you calling a coward? You. Who else? I mean, you definitely don't have a spine of your own. You just let your parents crap on me, and you didn't say anything all night. Well, what do you expect me to say? Did you really expect me to disrespect my parents in their own home, which they had graciously opened for us? Don't try and guilt me into suppressing my emotions. You know how your parents are. Couldn't you have warned me? And I'm not even asking you to disrespect your parents. You could have just asked them not to talk to me that way. My parents aren't anything like yours. They're different, and they would have taken me speaking up as disrespect. Are you seriously still defending your parents? Obviously, they're my parents. Do you even feel bad for what happened to me? Can we not do this? Seriously? I'm going to go to sleep. Good night. Peter left me standing there. I was hurt and upset. I couldn't believe that Peter didn't even feel bad for me. I hoped that Peter was just feeling embarrassed, which was why he was reacting this way. I went to bed feeling pretty empty. When morning came, Peter acted like everything was fine. It peeved me at first. I didn't speak to him for about a week. I was mad. I didn't want to let go of my anger until he apologized. But that apology never came. I knew that it wasn't a hill I was willing to die on. I didn't want to let go of my relationship with Peter over that, so I started talking to him again. I tried my best to put his parents' behavior and his negligence behind me. It became an unsaid thing, but after our first visit to Orla and Dave's, we never went back or even made an effort to meet them. The next time we saw them was at our wedding. At our wedding, I pretty much avoided Orla and Dave like the plague. I tried my best to have as little contact with them as possible, but eventually I had to talk to them. They walked up to us at our reception to congratulate Peter and me on our marriage. There's my handsome son and his wife. Congrats, son. Thanks, guys. Yeah, thanks. So what plans do you have for your honeymoon then? We were thinking of going to Hawaii. Why not some place abroad? Oh, we don't have the budget for that. Nonsense. We'll fund it. Seriously? Yeah, but we have one condition. We'll join you guys and make it a vacation instead. Of course, that would be amazing. What place do you have in mind? We were thinking of Paris. That would be great. Denise has always wanted to go, isn't it? Yeah, excuse me, I need to go to the washroom. I was not happy with this. I wanted time alone with Peter. I mean, isn't that what a honeymoon is all about? Hawaii wasn't Paris, but it's still a beautiful place, and it was a place that I've always wanted to visit too. I didn't like that Peter just decided without even stepping away to ask me. I tried my best to let go of my feelings and enjoy the night, but I really wasn't feeling the mood anymore. I rode out the rest of the reception and rode back home with Peter quietly. I was drained of all my energy and had no energy to talk to him about why I was upset. I slept over it, and the next morning I still felt crappy about it, so I told Peter about it. I need to talk to you about something that's been bothering me. What is it? It's about the honeymoon plans. I felt like you decided without considering how I felt. Come on, my parents' offer is fantastic. You have to admit it, Paris is a dream destination and you always wanted to go, right? It's not about the location. It's about the fact that we didn't even discuss it. A honeymoon is a special time for us alone. Well, we'll have alone time eventually. Right now, it's a great opportunity and we can't pass it up. Okay, but you know how your parents treat me. Is this really a smart decision? Look, my parents are trying to be nice. Stop overthinking things and ruining this for us. I just wanted us to have a say in our honeymoon. Is that too much to ask? You either come or you don't. Don't think of all the negative aspects. Look at it as a chance to explore a new place with me. I don't want to hear any more of this. I have to admit that it hurt to hear Peter talk to me that way. Would he really be okay with me not coming along with him on this honeymoon turned vacation? I decided to just suck it up and go. The vacation was set to happen a month after our wedding. When the day came, we met with Orla and Dave at the airport. They greeted me with so much friendliness that I was caught off guard. They were unusually nice and caring. Since I was thrown so off guard, I guess I kind of closed myself off. They were nice for the first week in France. We still had another 3 to go. I was beginning to get used to their sudden change of behavior. But then they slowly started going back to their old ways. It started off with them making fun of what I was wearing. Orla would ask me if I thought that what I was wearing was smart. And some days they would make plans to go to these fancy places where they would deliberately exclude me from going in with them because they thought my clothes were embarrassing. Keep in mind, I was dressed more than decently and even got complimented for it by the few French people we interacted with. Then they started leaving me out of things for no reason. They would take Peter with them and go off with him for a good portion of the day and not tell me about a thing. I think I spent a good portion of my time at the hotel itself. Then came the comments about my weight and what I ate. If I ordered anything other than salad, Orla would make jabs at me. All the while she was stuffing her face with steak. Throughout the entire thing, Peter would never say anything. Sometimes I'd even catch him holding himself back from laughing. I was honestly more than ready to go back home. I counted down the days till it was time to leave. I couldn't keep hanging out with Peter and his parents. His parents bullied me relentlessly while Peter just ignored everything. I knew that I was going to have to talk to Peter about this later too, because every time I tried to talk to him, he never seemed to understand or want to hear about it. On our last day there, I decided to get Peter and my passports and tickets all organized together. Peter handed me his tickets, but when I asked him about my tickets, he said he didn't have them. It was odd that Orla and Dave hadn't handed me my ticket, but I was so absorbed with surviving this vacation that the weirdness of the situation never really got to me. Anyway, I went up to Orla and Dave's room and knocked on the door. Orla opened the door. "Hey, Orla, we'll be leaving tomorrow, right?" "Oh, yeah, Peter, Dave, and I will be leaving in 4 hours." "What? What about me? We forgot to buy your ticket. Whoops." "Whoops? Is that all you have to say? How could you possibly have forgotten to book my tickets?" "Calm down, Denise. We'll buy you your own tickets. It's okay." "No, it's not okay. They can't keep pushing me to the side and you can't keep supporting them. Peter, she can't buy the same tickets as us." "What do you mean?" "All tickets on our flights are sold out." "Great. What are you going to say about this, Peter?" "I'm sorry." "No, sorry won't work. What's your solution?" "First of all, stop hounding my son. Talk to him with respect. Secondly, figure out your own solution. He's not responsible for your issues." "Peter, would you stay back at least?" "But I want to go to Turkey." "He's coming with us. Figure out your problem yourself." I was beyond shocked by this news. As Peter and I left their room, I tried asking him over and over again to not leave me alone. But he just looked away from me in embarrassment. He told me that his parents had paid for this trip from their retirement fund for him, and he wasn't going to disrespect them like that. I didn't say it at that time because I was so appalled. But all I could think about was, what about how your parents are disrespecting your wife? I watched Peter pack his bags through tears. He barely looked at me or even apologized. He never even offered to pay for my ticket back. I had half a mind to cause a scene, but at the same time I was humiliated enough. When it came time to leave, Peter walked away with his head down, while Orla and Dave gleefully waved me goodbye. I was mad. I was fuming. I didn't know what to do. I was stuck in an entirely foreign country all alone. Peter didn't stay back with me either. I was mad at all of them. I tolerated their behavior and all their quips for the entire month. I tolerated Peter not saying anything. I was done. I needed to get revenge, and I knew just how to. You see, as soon as Peter was financially stable, his parents retired. They had taken an assumable mortgage to transfer to Peter when he was stable. They transferred the mortgage to him once they retired. Now, Peter didn't have that kind of money to spare. It's why he still lived in an apartment. He was drowning in debt and the house was on the brink of foreclosure. So he nominated me to be the next owner. I earned more than him and had excellent credit. I contacted my best friend, Pearl, to tell her of my situation. Her husband, Terry, was a lawyer who specialized in property issues. I got on a conference FaceTime call with them and worked out a proof of how I had been the one paying off the mortgage ever since Peter nominated me. As soon as Peter transferred the mortgage to me, he stopped paying or even contributing. I was okay with it at first because I figured that this was the first time in a long while that he had money to spare at the end of the month. He blew all of his money on a lot of useless things. I didn't say anything until I realized 6 months had gone by and not once had he contributed towards his parents' mortgage. When I did say something about it, he lost his temper with me. He berated me for being jealous that he was living the life I had lived earlier before I took on mortgage payments. In hindsight, I should have realized that that probably should have been something that rang alarms about how he would be as a husband. Anyways, talking to Pearl's husband, Terry, helped open my eyes to all the things in my relationship with Peter that were questionable and even borderline insane. My God, Denise, how did you not realize how horrible Peter was before you even got married? I don't know. I actually don't know. I guess I loved him and didn't think he could do anything wrong. Okay, but he literally used you to pay off his home. You have to admit that that's a little insane. I know, but what do I do now? We can very easily transfer the house in your name. Can we? Yeah. You've been paying it off for over a year. You just have to contact the bank and get his name removed. You know what? I'll do it. And I'll have you an eviction notice drawn up so you can throw them out. How long will it take? Oh, you don't have to worry about it. Terry's got his contacts. He'll handle everything before you're back. You guys are seriously the best. Thanks a lot. You just have to promise us you'll be alert next time and that you won't let anyone use you like this. Oh, I promise, but I think it'll be a while before I trust someone new again. I knew that Peter and his parents had a 36-hour layover in Turkey. They planned their trip that way because they wanted to stay at the hotel at the airport in Istanbul. I was excited initially to be a part of it, but now I'm grateful I'm not. It gave me extra time to be home before them and serve them with an eviction notice. I booked my flight home and was lucky enough to get a flight in a couple of hours. The entire flight back home, I was a crying mess. I couldn't believe that this was what my life had come to. I had loved Peter with everything I had in me. I hated that I had overlooked every flaw in Peter, and this was how he repaid me. Not once did he call to check up on me. The only thing that consoled me was the satisfaction of throwing all of them out of their own house. For a brief moment, I wondered what they would do. The three of them would have to squeeze into Peter and I's apartment, but our lease was going to be up by next month. I knew they didn't have that kind of money to rent another apartment immediately after this trip. But then I remembered that they had been the ones to abandon me without even thinking about whether I would have been able to come back home. If they could do that to me, I could do it to them without feeling an ounce of guilt. As soon as I landed back home, I checked on Peter and his parents' flight status. They were going to leave in about 2 hours. I didn't care that I didn't get much sleep. I was running on the adrenaline of getting revenge. The first thing I did after getting out of the airport was drive straight to Orla and Dave's house. They kept a spare key under the mat, so I used it to get in and Gresham up. Then I got my laptop out and found the best divorce lawyer in my vicinity. I filed for a divorce and contacted Pearl to tell her that I had reached out. She and Terry came over so I could sign some paperwork to remove Peter's name from ownership and to sign the eviction notice. Seeing them brought over all the emotions I had been trying to suppress since I landed. I hated coming back to the place where there were only reminders of Peter everywhere. But Pearl and Terry were my friends, and we'd been through thick and thin together. They let me cry out my feelings for a while. When they left, I checked on Peter's flight and saw that it would take them another hour to get on the plane. I decided to take some time to sleep. I needed to not look like I was a mess or struggling. I struggled, but eventually I fell asleep. When I woke up, I realized that I had slept for about 10 hours. I quickly got dressed and ready. I went to the divorce attorney's office and collected the divorce papers. When I got back, I had to wait about an hour before Peter and his parents came back. My heart pounded as the time drew nearer to their return, but I knew I had to stay strong. When they got back, they were surprised to see me there in their house. What are you doing here? When did you even get back? Babe, I was trying to call. Save it. You didn't try anything. To answer your questions, Orla and Dave, I got back yesterday and I came here for a reason. Make it quick. We're all tired from traveling and we want to get some rest. Well, I want you guys out of my house. Your house? What are you even talking about? Stop wasting our time. Get out. Oh no, you guys need to get out. Don't you dare talk to my parents that way. I won't as long as they get off my property. This isn't your property, Denise. It is now, since I've been paying the mortgage off for the past year. What? Peter, what is she saying? We thought you were the one who was paying it off. For God's sake, we gave you the house because you said you could handle the payments. Well, he couldn't. He nominated me as an owner, and I had it off. I threw him off the owner's list because he hadn't paid a cent towards it, and now the house is mine. So get out. The three of them stared at me in shock and disbelief. They tried to plead their case and begged me to let them stay with me, but I told them that I had had enough of their bullying. I told them to get out or I would get the police involved. Right before they left, I handed Peter the divorce papers. I told him I didn't want to be with someone who would gladly use me for his gain and not ever stand up for me when I most needed it. Peter tried to apologize and begged me not to leave him, but the hurt was too much to continue to stay with him. I watched them leave and my heart was full of satisfaction. It would be a while before the hurt and betrayal completely cleared out, but at least I had taken control of my situation. I didn't let either Peter's or his parents' actions get to me or define me, and in my books, that's the biggest win of them all. It's been a couple of months since all of this has happened. Peter tried to contest the divorce, but he quickly realized how expensive it was going to be for him, so he backed off. The last time I heard about their situation, I found out that they had stayed with a bunch of relatives before they could afford an affordable place. Orla and Dave went right back to work so they could support themselves. It sucked that they were struggling, but this is the lesson they learned from messing with the person that was helping them. I've been happier ever since I threw them out of my life. Yeah, sometimes memories of everything they did to me come back, but I always let the satisfaction of my revenge comfort me. Hello guys, my name's Sylvia, and this is my very own mother-in-law story. Ever since I started dating Matt, my now husband, I knew that I would end up writing here. Why? Well, his mother Betty has been a witch to me from the very beginning. God, this woman is absolutely horrible. I don't know how I managed to tolerate her for so long. She is a big pain in the ass and doesn't even want to change herself. It all started when we met. Betty is an extremely judgmental and ignorant person who thinks she is better than everyone. In reality, she has a low-paying job and relies on her son Matt for financial help. When I met Betty, she seemed to be very unimpressed with me. That was okay since she didn't even know me yet, but it slowly became clear that her opinion wouldn't change at all. She said, "So, my son tells me that you work from home? I don't know what kind of job allows work from home anymore. I bet it doesn't pay above minimum wage." No, Betty, it does pay pretty well. I managed to earn $80,000 a year. I think it's pretty good enough. I don't need to be at the office for this work. Wow, they pay that much to lie around the house and be lazy. I didn't know that. I guess people nowadays don't have proper work ethics to go to the office. Not everyone can be hardworking like me. Her words and her tone were dripping with judgment. I realized soon enough that she thinks I'm beneath her and her son. Surprisingly, she never said that I didn't deserve her son. She simply kept putting me down while showing me that she was a rich and cultured woman. It was strange and annoying, but it got even stranger. She said, "What about your parents, Sylvia? Do they live around here? I never heard your surname in these parts before. It's very strange since I know everyone here." "They're not from around here. They live in a different country altogether. I moved here for college when I was 18. I have been here since then." "Oh my God, so now you're telling me that you are an immigrant. I didn't know that, Sylvia. I hear that life is very difficult in third world countries. I hope your parents are getting by fine. Do you help out?" "No, I don't need to. They manage on their own. I do send gifts and stuff sometimes." "Of course you do, Sylvia. Not everyone around the world gets to enjoy high-quality goods. Let me know if they need anything. I can always help out. I know how exciting it is to get nice gifts. Maybe I can send them some of my own." Guys, I was entertaining her bullshit for a while, but it was starting to get to me. Betty, just out of the blue, assumed that I came from a poor family and my parents don't have much money. I guess my simple looks and old car threw her off. We met at a carnival instead of an upscale restaurant, which might also have influenced her opinion, but it was Matt's idea to meet her. He said that she loves carnivals. Even if I didn't look rich, the stuff Betty was saying was downright low. Matt was off to bring us food, so I was stuck dealing with Betty on my own. As soon as Matt was back, Betty kept inappropriate comments and opinions to herself. When we were returning home, I did talk to Matt about these problems. I knew that I had to tell him the first day so that he knew how long it had been going on. I said, "Matt, I don't think I can be close to your mom after this. She is extremely judgmental and I don't think I can look past her behavior." "I'm so sorry she said these things to you, Sylvia. I wish I was around to defend you. Mom has always been like this. There is nothing I can do about it. Can you at least be civil with her? That will do for me." "Yes, I can do that, Matt. I tend to have thick skin, but your mom can be intense. I will try my best, though, I promise." And I did try my best, trust me, guys. I put up with Betty's behavior for a long time. I did everything to make sure not to scream at Betty for being such a snob. It was freaking irritating to hear Betty talk highly of her while assuming that I am a dumb girl from a poor country. After a while, I seriously couldn't stand her anymore. So with a little push from my friends, I decided to distance myself from her. That apparently angered Betty because she thought that I was being a bad daughter-in-law. It was a complete mess and Matt didn't know what to do, so I took matters into my own hands and started to be careful around Betty. I never indulged her or protested when she patronized me. She happily blabbered about my underprivileged upbringing and seemingly bad condition while I remained silent. Things went well for a few years until me and Matt got engaged. We started to plan our wedding and Betty made a whole show about how important it is for me to hold a grand wedding for the sake of her reputation. I rolled my eyes at that. She didn't contribute a cent to the wedding, but complained about how cheap we were being with our choices. Instead of helping out, she actually pestered Matt to buy her a new car so that he couldn't spend as much on the wedding. Yes, she wanted Matt's money all to herself. The worst happened when a cousin told me and Matt how Betty planned to humiliate me at our wedding by gifting me her used car because I couldn't even dream of ever owning something that expensive. Matt refused to believe that his mom could be so cruel, but I knew that it sounded like something Betty would do, so I made a plan. I called up my parents and said, "Mom, Dad, my mother-in-law wants to humiliate me at my wedding by gifting me a used car. She is convinced that I am a good-for-nothing woman who can never buy good things in life. And she wants my guests to know that as well." "She sounds like a nightmare, Sylvia. Why does she think that you are destitute? Did you say something of that sort?" "No, I simply told them that you guys live in a different country and I came here for studies. That made her think that we were poor and belonged to a third world country. This woman is nasty, Dad." "My God, she is something. I wonder how she ended up raising such a sweet man like Matt. I see no similarities between the two at all. What are you going to do about this situation, Sylvia? Do you want to confront your mother-in-law?" I did think about it. I wanted to confront Betty and just unload on her. She had no right to behave in such a horrible way all these years. Yes, I didn't give her full information about my background, but that was because it is none of her business. Matt knew it all, and that's enough. Betty didn't even care to ask. She simply assumed the worst and ran with it. Her false assumptions made her feel superior to me, and that was good enough for her. I wanted to confront her and shatter her big ego, but I didn't do that. I had better plans. If she decided to try and humiliate me at my wedding, we didn't deserve to be confronted in private. So I said, "Actually, no, Mom and Dad. I don't want to confront her in private. She does not think twice before trying to embarrass me in front of everyone. Why should I care about her feelings and confront her in private?" "Then what do you plan to do? We'll keep you in any way we can. You just need to tell us." "That's right. We will do our best. We don't want you to take unnecessary stress. Planning the wedding is stressful enough." "Thanks, Mom and Dad. This is why you are the best. Matt still has some hope that Betty won't pull her evil plan at our wedding, but I have my doubts. So I made a plan. If Betty really does humiliate me at the wedding, I will give you a signal to go ahead with the plan." I told my parents the plan and they were happy with it. I didn't inform Matt because it actually didn't concern him as much. Plus, he was still deep in the fog to realize what a horrible person my mother-in-law was. So I didn't tell him about the plan. I knew that Betty would not control herself and fall into my trap. If she thinks she can get away with humiliating me, she has another thing coming. On the day of my wedding, everything went perfectly as planned. The day was going great and we were all having a blast. Me and Matt were super happy and excited to hear everyone's speeches at the reception. It was then that Betty decided to make her appearance on the stage. She took the mic and went on and on about how she was happy for her son and how much she struggled to make this day happen. It was boring and had this odd me vibe. But just when I started to get bored, she declared her gift to me in front of everyone. She said, "So I have decided to give you, Sylvia, dear daughter-in-law, my old car as a wedding present. I feel so good to give you something you couldn't even dream of. To be honest, this car has been my baby for over 5 years. It's a damn good car and all. But now that my son has promised to buy me a new car, I thought you should have it and consider it your wedding present from me. I'm sure you will be thrilled to own such a nice car. I think I can say for sure that I gave you the best gift of everything that you have received from your family. It's just to show you how much I appreciate you. I hope this gift can be a reminder of how generous I am when it comes to family." Betty went on and on about how she must have changed my life by giving me a freaking used car. The way she spoke about me and my family was patronizing and downright appalling. I didn't know why she thought that I didn't come from a good household. My parents don't live in the same country as me, so Betty has never met them before the wedding. Because I don't tell people details about my family, Betty automatically assumed I belonged to a poor family from a third world country or something. I could see that the majority of the guests were getting uncomfortable with Betty's speech. As I said, she is an extremely uninformed and horrible woman. Even Matt looked really ashamed of his mother and gave me an apologetic look from time to time. I gave his hand a squeeze to tell him that I had things under control. Betty wouldn't get away with humiliating my parents. I winked at my parents, who also returned my smile to tell me that they knew what to do. It was going to be showtime. As soon as Betty was off the stage after her ridiculous speech, my parents took the stage after her. They said some great words about us that brought tears to our eyes. Next, they said something that wasn't supposed to be broadcast to everyone, but the situation warranted it. They said, "So, we have been wanting to visit this country to meet with our son-in-law and his family for a very long time. Unfortunately, due to our business, it was difficult to make any plans. We are glad this wedding gave us the opportunity to meet everyone. We really love being here and making sure that our daughter is in the right hands. This wedding will be on my mind for a very long time. After all, it's my only daughter's wedding." Now, since we're already discussing wedding gifts on stage, I guess we should reveal our little gift to you guys too. We are not sure what's the norm here, so I didn't know if it would be appropriate to declare our gift in front of everyone. Oh, it's not a problem at all. We would love to know what you're giving your daughter as a present. There is nothing to be shy about. We have gifts according to our own financial situation. I'm sure no one here would mind or judge a gift from loved ones. Betty thought she was being smart by casually hinting to everyone that my parents were ashamed to reveal their puny little gift in front of everyone. She was trying to be a patronizing little witch, and it was pissing me off. But Betty had no idea how embarrassed she was going to be after my parents revealed their gift. I already knew what they were giving me, but I told them not to talk about it at the wedding. I didn't want Betty to feel like my parents were overshadowing her gift, but after I learned and saw Betty's outrageous behavior, I told my parents to tell everyone what they were giving me, and they agreed. By my dear mother-in-law's insistence, of course. They said, "Thank you for the confirmation, Betty. I see that this is a loving and caring community. No one here really judges people at all. It's so nice to see that after such a long time." Yes, now since people here don't mind sharing details on their wedding gifts, we feel comfortable talking about it too. So me and my husband are really excited to disclose our wedding gift to this wonderful couple who got married today. For my sweet daughter and her amazing new husband, we are giving you guys a new mansion in this area. We found out that a great mansion here was up for sale, and we decided to get it for our one and only daughter. Sylvia and Matt, we really hope you like our gift. Come on, dear. We shouldn't just keep them hanging after this. Guys, we also decided to give you a check so that you can remodel the house and add your favorite furniture to it too. You know, we wanted you guys to have a good start to your married life, so it felt right to give you the whole package. I hope you like your gift. As soon as my parents said this, Matt and I expressed our sincere gratitude towards them. Our guests also cheered and applauded their generous gift since no one was expecting it. And everyone knew what mansion they were talking about. Let me just say that it costs about $500,000. And the check was for another $20,000 so that we could get the house furnished as we liked. Matt wasn't expecting that, so he was super happy. However, his mom, Betty, looked extremely embarrassed and was even looking down at her feet. It was glorious to see Betty get a proverbial slap across her face. If you think that the fun ended there, you are wrong. Betty is one of a kind. This woman had the audacity to walk up to us and express her disappointment at my parents' gift. You would think that she finally got beaten down. Well, it turns out she's just utterly shameless. She pulled us aside after the speeches and said, That was extremely inconsiderate of your parents, Sylvia. I am embarrassed and appalled at their behavior today. What do you mean, Betty? My parents have been nothing but kind to everyone here, including you. What is the problem? You are asking me what my problem is? Well, your parents should have some etiquette and not declare their gift in front of everyone. They intentionally flashed their money and made everyone feel poor. Betty's words brought out a big laugh from within me. Seriously, guys, I couldn't help but laugh at her ridiculous words. Now, she was accusing my parents of flashing their wealth. I said, I don't know what you're talking about, Betty. You were the one who told them that they can declare their gift in front of everyone. They just did what you did before them. How did they suddenly become inappropriate? Well, they knew that their gift would overshadow everyone, and it even made me look embarrassed. This is not done. Your family intentionally humiliated me. Isn't that what your plan was, Betty? I knew and heard what your plan was. I knew that you wanted to embarrass me and my parents by bringing up your gift and hinting that I am not rich enough to afford good things. Are you accusing me of insulting you today, Sylvia? My God, just because I'm a poor woman who can't give you a good gift, you are intentionally humiliating me. Matt, are you hearing this? Look at how ungrateful your wife is. What do you want me to say, Mom? Sylvia is right. You did start this shit show first. I heard what you said during your speech. You tried to humiliate my wife and her family, Mom. Don't try to turn the narrative now. You knew what you were doing, weren't you? Immediately, Betty knew that she had messed up and got caught. Now her own son was throwing questions that she couldn't answer truthfully. She didn't have to, though. Everyone at the wedding knew how inappropriate Betty's speech was, and they now saw Betty for who she was. But Betty still decided to play the victim card. She said, Matt, how can you say that to your own mother? It's not my fault that Sylvia lied to me and didn't tell me that her parents are rich. I bet she was waiting for this day when she would get to one-up me in front of everyone. Don't you dare put the blame on my wife, Mom. She never said that her parents were poor. You were the one who assumed it, and we know from a cousin that you planned this speech to humiliate Sylvia today. There is no use lying or putting blame on others. Okay, fine. I shouldn't have done that. But Matt, what Sylvia's parents did. At this point, I saw that Matt had enough of Betty's bullshit. I was already exhausted with her, but seeing Matt get mad at his mom was awesome. But what Matt said next surprised both me and Betty. He said, Stop it, Mom. What you have done today was extremely embarrassing. I should have seen this coming since you kept picking on Sylvia every chance you got. I feel like I failed as a partner to her, but I won't allow this anymore. You can keep your goddamn car. My wife doesn't need your charity, and I am not buying you a new car either. What? Matt, why are you behaving like this? Why should I be punished? I know I shouldn't have made that speech, but I don't deserve so much hate. I'm your mother, Matt. You should side with me. I don't deserve to lose my new car. That's all you care about, Mom. Money and material things. I have been an ATM to you for a long time now. You go around showing off your borrowed wealth and make people feel bad about themselves. It's time you live your life according to your financial standards. I am not helping you out anymore. In fact, I think me and my wife would like some space from you. Don't expect much communication from us from now on. We will be going no contact with you. Guys, Matt stunned the hell out of us all. This was the first time I saw him truly stand up for me. I felt proud that I married the right man. I knew that already, but man, that was awesome. He didn't need any prompting at all. Everything just came tumbling out of his mouth. It was glorious, and Betty was shocked to her core. She immediately started to cry while trying to change Matt's mind. Thankfully, we were in a secluded spot where no one could see us. She did all sorts of begging and pleading, but nothing worked. Matt scolded Betty some more before dragging me away to the party. He said, Sorry for this drama, Sylvia. I should have done this a long time ago. I really don't want to spoil our wedding, but this had to be done. Are you joking, Matt? That was the best thing you could do today. I never expected this. You don't have to keep your word, but I still appreciate it. I plan to keep my word, Sylvia. Mom had been nothing but nasty to you. I never did anything substantial to make her stop. Now it's time I take a stand. We will start a new family, and I don't want Mom's negative presence in that. I love you so much, Matt. Thanks for doing this for us. Trust me, I will remember this. I meant every word. My wedding wasn't spoiled as Betty had planned. Instead, it became one of the best days of my life. I was able to show Betty her place and get her toxic presence removed from my life. I didn't see the day getting any better, but it did, you know. Turns out people took the gift declaration a little too seriously. Our best friends finally revealed that they were funding our honeymoon. We already booked everything and they knew how much we were spending. They actually decided to give us that amount so that we could do something else with it. Betty's own mother ended up showing me the heirloom necklace that she was supposed to give me in private. Betty was getting more and more embarrassed as time passed. She kept crying in a corner, but no one went to ask her what was wrong. Her plan backfired horribly while I had a blast. Want to know what happened next? Well, true to his word, Matt went low contact with his mom. He ignored all her texts and only told her to contact us for emergencies. Betty didn't like it, of course. We also refused her car, which she couldn't give us anyway since Matt wasn't buying her a new one after all. He also stopped sending her money completely. We had an amazing honeymoon and moved into the new mansion just a month after our wedding. Betty wasn't even allowed a tour of the house or given a key. She complained, but again, no one listened to her. My parents actually ended up bettering their relationship with Matt. They already loved him, but seeing his new shiny spine, they were even more thrilled. From the money Matt and I saved by not paying his mom, we take tours to visit my parents when we can. Betty is miserable since she had to downgrade her lifestyle. She doesn't flaunt her money anymore and is desperate to have her son back. But her son is happy having only me around and has expressed his desire to stay that way, even in